even weirder right now is if instead of using the clicker, I was using some weird head gesture or body movement to make our slides change, which I do believe exists in some TED Talks, because I've seen these sort of cranial headgear that people are using to make the slides change. The nature of that little exercise was just to test our preconceived notion and expectations of how things will pan out in our daily lives. So this idea of our expectations of when someone comes out to present. There are certain things in our subconscious that we expect to happen. So when we talk about a subject like creativity, the best way we can get to know the subject is to get to know our own relationship with that topic. So just based on how we felt in those few moments of quiet and silence lets us know how we feel overall with discomfort. And the reality is, when we're in a creative environment, if you've ever been in the LaBelle building or any studio, you notice there's a lot of disorder, there's a lot of mess, because we need the freedom to try things and sample things and smudge it and smear it before it actually becomes something. There's a wonderful story about Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, and if you ever have the chance to visit Greenfield Village, I strongly recommend it. Innovation was born there. And so looking at their original instruments and hearing the historic accounts, there's a story of where Henry Ford develops this beautiful lab, and everything is orderly and perfect and in its space. And he asked Edison, what do you think? And he said, it's perfect. The only thing wrong with it is it's too tidy. And that's exactly it. In order to come up with creative solutions, we have to be willing to get a little messy and a little uncomfortable. So if you have the opportunity with your phone, you can snap this code. If not, I believe there is a copy of it in your delegate package. So instead of needing to take notes or kind of jot down the people I note or the concepts, this code will take you to the link which explains everything and has a lot of great links that you can refer to. So where does creativity live? You know, this concept of creativity as a commodity, as a necessity in our corporate vision, our economy, and where we're going forward is a fairly new subject. People like Daniel Pink and his peers are beginning to teach and speak on this topic because we're running into a situation where we're running out of ideas. And ideas that are brought forward tend to get shot down before they even get out of the starting gate. So even though it's an important subject, we're experiencing a lot of challenges in how to make it something that's attainable in our group setting. What does creativity have to do with our health? Well, the best way I can explain that is, what is the first question the doctor asks you? How are you feeling today? Describe to me what your symptoms are like. Our ability to describe and communicate details is what gets us further in life. So if we're in a situation where we need immediate care, our ability to communicate what's wrong is critical. Vice versa, when we're looking for positive outcomes, our ability to communicate what we are after helps us reach our goals. So there definitely is a connection. So again, we're really dealing with the ramifications of the creative arts, the performing arts, our priority on those subjects, removing them steadily year by year out of our education system. Removing excursions like this from our education system and our corporate environment. TED, the platform, brought that back to the corporate market, brought it back to the forefront for us. So even though it's a priority, integrating it can be challenging. So I often use the analogy where, you know, we're on a jet ski trying to make a U-turn, or we're on a cruise ship making a U-turn. Both can be achieved. One's a little more complicated and takes a little more time. So if we're the agile jet ski, it's our job to keep the discussion open and keep solutions discussed to help that cruise ship catch up. Because in the end, we're all navigating the same sea. And collaboration is that open forum of discussion. So on a personal level, it allows us to test our boundaries. So my little introduction was an immediate way of our testing our personal boundaries with a creative environment. And it was already brought up a couple of times today, which I really applaud the other speakers, because this idea of sharing our ideas in front of other people petrifies us. They say that one of the top worst fears of a human being is doing exactly this, speaking in front of each other. I can tell you chemotherapy and radiation is really a lot worse than this. You know, there are things that are really a lot worse than standing here and talking to people, other human beings. But somehow we've been taught to close up, don't talk, study, research it. Have you done your homework yet? Don't talk yet. You haven't proofread that yet. So by the time that document is impeccable, it's irrelevant. Apple is the genius of that. They ship things out all the time that are flawed. They leave it up to the public to figure it out. Yet people wait in line for their products all the time. So this idea of allowing ourselves to be free and express ourselves is something that has not been taught to us. And in fact, the opposite has been taught. How often I hear people say, oh, I can't draw, I suck at drawing. Or somewhere in a classroom, someone told them, because you can replicate something identically of how you see it, therefore you are not creative. Maybe study math. You're better at math. Or Johnny's good in sports. Maybe he'll play football. I don't know. As a visual artist, I went to school with many athletes, people of all sorts of personalities, types, and the thing that united us was our need to express ourselves. And we were taught to share our ideas and talk to each other like peers who wanted to see each other succeed. As a grown-up in the working world, I quickly realized that was not taught in other subjects. And so, in a world that's governed by math, science, politics, that creative flow is absent. And so it's wonderful to see people like Daniel Pink, Seth Godin, and their peers infusing this very, very important subject back into the way we deal with each other. So, creativity, communicating our personal ideas, creativity in the work environment. How often do you hear someone say, you know what, that's a cool idea, but I can't really picture what you're saying. I really can't imagine that working. I can't see how that's going to work. Or my favorite, it's been like that all the time. I can't imagine it being any different. That kind of is the conclusion to the story. Our choice of language and the way we perceive things will directly impact the outcome. So I can't stifles, smothers the creative process. And so if you're in a team environment, whether it's a committee, a student, a TED group putting this together, a CEO of a major company facing a crisis, as soon as your team members say, I can't picture anything different, you have a problem. Because if we can't picture it, then nothing will change. And so it's our fear of that discomfort, that fear of being judged and ridiculed in public, that prevents some of the best ideas from being heard. So as we're looking at, how does creativity fit into the bigger picture, the first step is how does it fit within our own lives? And how fearful or not fearful are we to get out there and talk about what's in here and what we see in here? There's a natural resistance. We're ingrained to not want to change. Because when we're comfortable, we feel in control. Life is good. And when the creative process and things start to get messy, our natural alarm goes off. And so for me, I love that the fitness industry was a perfect industry for me because it was never the same thing twice. I was dealing with different people all the time. And I had to be very creative in how to teach people who had never exercised before, never played sports in their young lives, people in their 50s picking up a dumbbell for the first time. A tricep press, tricep extension, one of the hardest things to teach a person. Just a little side note there for you, because we lack the the body awareness. We lack that connection from our mind and body. So in order to teach ourselves to live productive, positive lives, that creative vibe is essential. So as we kind of wrap up, one of the reasons why I chose this code as a method to give you the information, save you the note-taking, is it's just another example of how a weird symbol, something we've never really seen, well, if you're my age, this is a new thing, but we're always seeing new ways of spreading information and spreading ideas. So from this little weird symbol, it connects you to information that is important, educational, and a whole lot condensed in that little square. So through these abstract concepts, we're able to share and communicate. So, English is a global language. I think code is our new language. Code allows us to speak and share in ways that I still don't quite understand, to be honest with you. But I've also learned there are certain things I don't have to understand. My job is, what am I going to do with that new technology? So just as a personal experience as a student of the University of Windsor here in the 80s, art student in the Bell Building, I remember sitting in my drawing class and our canvases and papers were massive, and I've never really drawn on anything that big. And I was sitting there and I was kind of tooling around in the corner and doing my work, and my professor came up to me and she said, "Jackie, do you mind if I draw on your paper a little bit?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And I stepped back, I'm all proud of my work, and I'm thinking she's going to continue working where I left off. And I'm a tall person, she's probably like this big to me, and walks up to my canvas and just starts making these lines and crazy stuff. And I just sat there and went, oh, I just worked on that for 2 hours. But after I got over the shock and the violation of my private work, I realized, wow, I had no idea what she was even asking me to do. And when I realized how much space in that canvas she had occupied in literally less than 60 seconds, and the lesson at that moment was I was limiting my scope, I was limiting my field of what I could see, where I was so busy in this little corner that I was missing the entire opportunity of this huge canvas. And so that was a pivotal shift for me for 2 reasons. One, it taught me to think big. So with our little devices right now, it's killing me because it's this big and I'm used to drawing on huge, like something this big. But, I'm adjusting. But also the idea of never underestimate where a lesson will come. I think one of the reasons I'm a great teacher is I'm a better student. I love learning from people, and I never underestimate who my next teacher will be. And so I thank my professors that taught me to think conceptually and picture things and honor other ideas that I don't maybe get right now, understanding that through dialogue and supportive, compassionate interaction, we truly can achieve magic and miracles. So it's my pleasure and honor to spend today with you. Congratulations, students of University of Windsor. This is an amazing event, and much peace and joy with you today.